In this video, we are going to talk about two different kinds of authorizations that you are most likely going to encounter: Enterprise Authorization and OAuth Authorization. We will clearly show in a diagram where exactly each one happened. Let's start by two basic concepts: authentication and authorization. Here's an example. Let's say you're a software developer and you're building this learning management system. We will call this LMS, where the users of the system can buy online courses. That's what you see on the screen, a user right here accessing a learning management system and which has its own database. Authentication is basically about verifying the person who's trying to log into the application. The application has to verify the user credentials, and that can be done by accessing LDAP or SAML or OpenID Connect. We don't care too much about how this is happening. LMS would need to build this authentication capability for the users, and as you can see from the diagram, it's the prime responsibility of the identity and access management system which will verify the credentials provided by the user. Now, authorization, on the other hand, needs to be performed by LMS itself. You might have students who are authorized to buy courses or play the course videos. You might have content creators who can upload their course content. And you might have administrators who can do the administrative activities. Authorization rules differ among these sets of users. As software developers, we understand authorization as enterprise authorization. And these authorization rules are embedded in the application itself. That's our LMS. But let's say you add a new use case to the learning management system, and now it needs to interact with LinkedIn. You want the students of the LMS to publish the fact that they have taken certain courses, and we want to publish it in LinkedIn. This is a use case for OAuth authorization. When we encounter OAuth, the situation changes a bit. OAuth stands for Open Authorization, and the server associated with OAuth is called the OAuth Authorization Server. For example, Google has a Google Authorization Server. LinkedIn has the LinkedIn Authorization Server. And Okta has its own Okta Authorization Server, and so on. But why is this server called an authorization server? The authorization in Authorization Server refers to the OAuth authorization and not the enterprise authorization. This is because OAuth was born from the idea of securing social applications and not enterprise applications. So in this case, LMS needs to call the LinkedIn API, and for that, the user has to explicitly approve this call to the LinkedIn API. This approval is called the OAuth authorization and is completely different from the enterprise authorization. This approval is given by the user to the application to call the API. So in the diagram, you can clearly see where authentication is taking place, where enterprise authorization is taking place, and where the OAuth authorization is taking place. But how does the user actually give the authorization? At one point or another, we have actually done this when using Google or LinkedIn or any other social application. LMS will redirect to the LinkedIn authorization server, asking specifically for approval from the user. A consent page will actually be shown to the user, and the user is going to explicitly click on the approve button to allow this. As a part of this process, the user will be asked to enter credentials to log into LinkedIn. And after that, the user will be asked to approve using a consent page. Basically, that's the OAuth authorization that the user is giving to the learning management system. So this way, LMS is now authorized to use LinkedIn API, and it's going to access the LinkedIn API using an OAuth token. I hope this clarifies the difference between Enterprise Authorization and OAuth Authorization.